As a performer, your body is there.
Hi, I'm Mad Kate, and you're listening to S.W.E.A.T, Sex, Work, Extraction, Arts, Theatrics. S.W.E.A.T is a series of conversations about performance and performativity of the sexual and sexualized body at work, where work is defined as the labor of survival, the labor of care, creativity, and capital A art. How exactly do we define our work, and how does that work entangle and circumscribe our sexual identities, our creative lives, and the ways in which we provide care? How do we perform both tasks and identities within the framework of that which we consider work? My hope is these conversations are a means to speak between intersectional bodies by anchoring in common space as sexualized bodies, as working bodies, as artistic bodies, and as performative bodies.
I chose something that I knew it was not going to sell. I chose performance, I chose intervention, I chose provocation. And who is going to buy my provocation? The same people I'm confronting, how are they going to pay me?
Today, I'll be sharing a conversation I had with Va-Bene Elikem Fiatsi, also known as crazinisT artist, a multidisciplinary artist and founder of perfocraZe International Artists Residency in Kumasi, Ghana. I spoke to crazinisT artist during my stay at the residency in March 2021.
I like to reclaim languages that demonize me. I claim blackness is not our language. Blackness is a racial language, and I claim it, so I'm a black queer person. The same way I'm reclaiming also any language that demonizes me or criminalizes me.
crazinisT artist pronoun is shit, she, he, it, and if not shit, then she. Through ritual, performance, and installation, crazinisT artist employs shit's own gender-fluid body as a thought-provoking tool to confront issues such as disenfranchisement, social justice, violence, internalized oppression, anti-blackness, queerness, social stigma, and its consequences for marginalized groups or individuals. I began by asking crazinisT artist when shit first understood herself to be an artist.
For me, I came into art as an agency, not just because I studied art. So I came to the university in 2010 to study painting. And I think it was during this period that I discovered my own agency in questioning the things that I felt like I had no chance, I had no opportunity to be able to raise questions on those things, and specifically questions on identity crisis. Gender, racial, ethnicity, all forms of identity were like, I was really curious about what brings about all these identities and how the question of identity and its politics leads to vulnerability and violence. So while studying painting, I just began to shift away from the canvas because it became too flat and too boring for me. And to confront my own identities, I think I need to put myself into characters. And so it was more revolutionary transitions, both from religious perspective to social identity. As a preacher, all of a sudden becoming an anti-Christian and also antichrist, because I consider myself, even though Antichrist has been really used as a negated language, I like to reclaim languages that demonize me. I claim blackness is not our language. Blackness is a racial language, and I claim it, so I'm a black queer person. The same way I'm reclaiming also any language that demonizes me or criminalizes me. So that agency of confrontation and intervention and inserting myself into the situations that I want to really dig into became the entry point into my practice. I think like the name crazinisT artist was already a reclamation like 2 years before even my transitions begin to happen. And that happened around, I think, by just my first year in the university. Of course, in art school, you are learning art history and other stuff. Presentations are happening. But I feel like so many information at the time, and it was really like academic shocking from the background we were coming from into, because We were not prepared ahead of time. It's like in a basic school, in the high school, you have no knowledge on what art is. You have no knowledge on contemporary art practice. You have no knowledge about what is happening in terms of the art world. And then all of a sudden, I landed in university and being bombarded with all this information and knowing that I could even use art as a language, as a weapon to fight for my own self. I wasn't looking at my completion of the university to validate me as an artist. Yeah. So even if I became a dropout in school, I should be able to call myself an artist. Mm-hmm. So to be crazy means extreme passion for something. Yeah. So crazinisT artist is extremely passionate about using the language of art. And then I added the artist to be able to create that paradox where people who may try to claim authorship of validating people as artists would say, oh, crazinisT artist is not an artist. But you have already mentioned prior to your conclusion that crazinisT artist. Mm-hmm. So I was just playing with this word and this kind of language.
crazinisT artist has been speaking publicly for a long time. Raised as a Christian, out of university, crazinisT artist began preaching the gospel, traveling from church to church, while she was also employed full-time as a high school teacher. Of course, Christianity was spread to Ghana by missionaries and often used as a justification for colonization. And many Ghanaians have grown up without being able to learn about traditional beliefs. The Christian faith continues to have a hold on Ghana as a nation, where today the LGBTQIA+ community is fighting for their right simply to exist, and Parliament is actively attempting to make queer life illegal. As Va-Bene came into her identity as a trans person and as artist, she left the Christian church and left her whole life behind. We spoke about whether she had viewed preaching as a performative act, and this led us into talking about how to define performance, performativity, and the theater.
No, at that time, I wouldn't say I conceptualized what I was doing as an art. Mm. Yeah, I just knew I had a mission. And I think I just worked with agency. At that time, I was dealing with so many other agencies. Mm-hmm. And perhaps becoming an artist explained that I needed a new platform to really do the things I was doing as a preacher. Right. And I needed to move out of those colonial dimensions. And because I needed to understand whatever platform I'm using, that I understand it, not because it has been given to me. So I felt like Christianity was just presented to me. But now I'm exploring my own artistic languages, so not just because of the academic knowledge, but also because I'm putting my life in it. So yes, so before the art school, I wouldn't say I considered myself as an artist in terms of the things I was doing. But now if I look back, I can say they were a form of art, they were very performative. They were religion is another art in itself. Every kind of religion I can say is an artistic, it embodies a lot of artistic disciplines, from even visual arts to spoken words, to incantations, to performances, to poetry. The Bible is full of a lot of poetry. Even prayer is performance, the way you pray. Maybe you should go to the churches in Ghana and see and witness prayers. Everything that happens in the church is prayer performance.
How do you define it as performative?
Performance is an attitude. I do say performance an attitude and performing art. So okay, let me just come to the way I look at performance and also performing something. Performing something is more about acting it. Performance is an attitude that is more embodied. It becomes a kind of belief. And this is why also Judith Butler would reference gender as being performative, So it's not I wouldn't say it's performing, but it's performative. And this is why Judith Butler was referring to it this way, or this why I would actually relate to what they were saying at this time, that is performative in the sense that it's an embodiment. If I look at it as a distinction between that and performing, mm-hmm. then I would say it's performance, but not performing it. Performing, in terms of performing art and performance, one is an attitude, one is more of an action. Yeah, so the church believes in those things and they live it as life. So it's not a theater. So performing can relate more to theater. Yeah, where you know this action may have no meaning to you, but it's an employment, it's an engagement, and that's how I look at performing something.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of performance, it's avant-garde, it's Protestant, it's a belief, it's an embodiment. This is how I look at performance in itself, and that is why I'm also curious to know how people combine theater and performance. People coming from the field of theater, people coming from the field of performing art, and then they are into performance art. How they are able to create this sync or to synchronize these elements. So now let's go back to the church. So like for me, the church is that you pray and you believe that your prayer is being heard. It's different from when somebody is in a theater hall and acting the position of a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
This prayer is not something that a person is really looking forward to God to even answer. So this is like performing it. But performance become an attitude. So when you are in a theater, you can play a position where you can even play with the intelligence of God. Like you can pray and say, "Oh God, if you are so there, may you kill my father right now." You don't really mean it. You don't want God to kill your father. Right. But in theater, you have this permission to do this. Yeah, and this is why also there were men who were acting the position of women. It's not that they believe that they want to become trans. It's not that they believe that they can be women. It's not. They have nothing to do with. They have no position for woman. It's just that they know that I can act it, and it doesn't affect me.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I've thought about it a lot and how this tradition of is that drag or what is
that? Exactly. And so you can see how a transphobic person, can also cross-dress in a theater. You can be homophobic and act homosexuality in a theater.
Indeed.
Yeah, because that is a performing thing. But when it comes to performance, that's why I call it Protestant. As a trans person, you exhibit transness in performance. It's about your beliefs. It's about your being. It's about your spirit. So this is the difference, I would say, when it comes to the church and when it comes to outside the church, other things happening. So in the church, I would say that it was really a performance. People really believe in it. I believed in everything that I did in the church. I wasn't just doing it for doing sake. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The prayers I prayed, I believe in them.
When I was a child, I used to perform the communion by helping the pastor. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the blood of God shed for you. Mm-hmm. Da-da-da. And there was a moment when I was a teenager and I didn't believe.
You were doing it. You were acting it. You were not living it.
Yes. Yeah. Did you have a moment like this?
I think it was just that moment that I have to break up. But before then, I believe in everything. Yeah, I just feel like I needed to be honest to myself than pleasing people,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. I love not necessarily just to please people around me, but to be honest to myself. Yes, that is performance and performing. Like one is so honest, so trusting, and the other one is so much of acting, And like we just mentioned, the English and many other cultures would act these traditions, take women's role, and they have nothing even to offer womanhood, I would love to really explore my own fluidity and gender identity and vulnerability than just thinking because I'm an activist, I can go and pick some woman's story and come and create story and think of, I can go to some trans community and look for trans people and talk about trans people as a cis or as a hetero or as a something without even understanding what it feels like to be that vulnerable. I hate this exploitation. And this is what the performing does to the stage, where men would, perhaps that was not the intention, The intention is, I think it was also just because women never had a position in society. Women were not just even considered human beings, So let us play the role of these people, because we cannot have them eat with us and dine with us. It's about exclusion. Yeah, it's about exclusion. So perhaps it's not about exploiting womanhood or exploiting women in general. But it's about that exclusion.
Similar to the way that performance can be spoken of as performing an identity, performing a role, or performativity, the words work, labor, career, and job are probably all understood a little bit differently from each other as well. And the way each of us individuals understands those terms can also be different. I asked crazinisT artist about when shit started working, and crazinisT artist answered by beginning from the end.
I think I rather stopped working long ago.
You stopped working?
Yeah. I stopped working and I'm just living it. So, yeah. So I'm living, maybe I'm living as a work, but I'm not working. Yeah, which I think is very complex to explain. But then I was working before I came to the university.
Right.
So I was a professional teacher. I was on salary. I was on payroll. I know monthly I have this coming in and stuff. That was my first job, And for Christianity, it wasn't a work. I was living it.
Okay, you didn't consider it a work,
no.
Even though it was sustaining you, I guess. Like it was allowing you to
it was
buy food and
no Christianity. Actually, with my Christian life as a preacher and the rest, I was not on salary on anything, so he didn't offer me anything economically. Yeah, so I had my profession, and so I was in my profession, and I have my salary, so I don't need to depend on the church. I don't need the church for anything, actually. Wow. Yeah, so, and this is why I wasn't committed to one church. I preached in different churches. So for me, it was more about the word. It was more about the gospel. Yeah, so when I mentioned that I have stopped working and now living as a work, maybe that will make sense that after this period, when I was teaching, that was when I was working. I was working
as a teacher,
and getting a salary to survive.
Yeah.
But after this point, I think I stopped working and I'm just a survivor and I'm just living as a work. So,
did you have to? So after you quit teaching, did you have to take other jobs to make your art happen, to fund your art? How did you fund your art?
Yeah, I think if I'm still a Christian, then I should be talking about miracles, but then of course, so that is why maybe also I use a language and then I became a survivor and I was living as a work. Not many people could quit their job like I did, knowing that, because I didn't come into art imagining I'll have a fee from art any day.
Right.
I never even dreamt of it. I've never tested it before, so I don't even know how it's going to be like. Like I said, it was an agency. It was revolutionary. So for me, that's what I wanted to follow. So when I quit teaching, I was literally selling on the street. You've been to the market already. You've seen people carrying water, sachet. I was doing that. And so that is what I mentioned, survivor. So that's why I needed to survive. So I wasn't doing it as a job.
It wasn't, interesting. So you didn't consider it
No, I didn't consider that as a job.
It was like a necessity, or it was a...
When you go for hunting, let's go back, when we go back into prehistoric time, and you need to survive, and you need to go and look for wild fruits, you need to go and look for animals and eat. It is not a job. You're surviving.
Interesting.
Because you're not hunting for salary, you're not hunting for pay. You're hunting to survive.
Right.
Yeah. So you are not. It's not. I don't see it as a job.
So for you, job is something that's more like a career. Like it's,
Yeah, a job is for me a job. In this sense, is something like a career, something that you need the wages, some payment, some salary, wages, and it's. I think it's complex than I'm even mentioning. Yeah, so it's something that you definitely hope for.
as an artist, or
No, as a human being,
yeah, okay,
So you are not just doing it for living or survival. You are doing it for other acquisitions. So this is why you build from your salary, you buy cars from your salary. But when you're doing hunting, you are not imagining building from hunting. You're not imagining, you're not imagining buying car from hunting. Mm-hmm. You are hunting to survive because you are not hunting to even sell it. But when you begin to hunt to sell, then maybe you are going into job, maybe you are going to professions, maybe you are going to something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so so that's why I reference prehistoric period. Okay, so for me, when I was selling this water, it's like looking on the ground for food to eat. It's like just searching the wilds to get some fruit to eat. Because while somebody is going to the bush to look for fruit to pluck and eat, this is where I can get my fruit.
right?
So
Right.
yeah, so for me it was like surviving. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a job. And I knew I wouldn't do it forever.
Yeah.
I knew something will shift.
What shifted?
Yeah, I know something will shift, but I just don't know what it is going to what is going to shift. It's into a very big enterprise. But that was not my aim.
Right.
I just needed to be alive and do the things I wanted to do.
Right.
So if I can go and sell water and get some money to eat some food, and then I come back to my studio to be able to do the things I do, I'm okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so like perhaps I would have continued my life this way if nothing even happened, and I'll be satisfied.
With any labor we do, one might say that there's at least two parts. There's survival in the capitalist economy, which may relate primarily to our physical health or largely to our physical health. But there's also how much we love and feel passionate about the work that we do. And this may relate more to our mental health. If your work is art and art is your labor of love, does taking money for art make your relationship to your art different? And does it change the work itself?
It just depends on the context and depend on even where you are getting the money from. That's one necessary evil in our life as artists, where you are even funded by institutions that, the same institutions that you are even confronting, they still give you the funding.
I mean, of course. It's like, in some ways, what institution isn't kind of culpable, right?
Yeah. So it's a whole paradox, You and I are here because of my first salary. Perhaps
as an artist.
As an artist and as human beings, actually. You and I are here 800 Swiss francs, if I can remember very well, 800 Swiss francs as my first salary. And then I rented 2 rooms in the house here. I rented these 2 rooms. The money I got went straight into the hands of the landlady. And then I told my partner, I just hope that in 1 year, these people will move from this house and I take the whole house. And she was like, for what? Where are you going to get money to take the whole house? That's the first question. Secondly, why do you need a whole house? We don't need more than 2 rooms.
But you knew?
But I know.
You had your vision.
Yeah, I had my vision. That's why mine, I think, is just so complex, because if it is for job, if it is for work, if it is for salary, I wouldn't do art. Sincerely, I wouldn't do art. I wouldn't do art. If I would do art, I would do it as a part-time. Yeah. I think if you speak to many Ghanaians here, this is why how many Ghanaians are even practicing art. Over hundreds of people are graduating from the university every day, or every year from the art school. But the question is how many even remain practicing as artists, I think I would just become an opportunist. And that doesn't suggest that artists who are working are opportunists. In my own feeling, I know if I wanted a job, I won't do art. So I'll do art when I think, oh, there's some chance here for artists. Then I'm an artist. After that chance, I am just doing my own stuff. So I'll just sneak in when I see some doors open.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. If I was painting, I knew I have money.
Okay, but you didn't want to do this.
Yeah, if I was painting, I knew I would sell. Even if I don't sell it in the museums and galleries, I can sell to ordinary people at a cheap price and survive with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because painting, ordinary Ghanaians would want to buy painting, but okay, maybe like 50 Ghana cedis. And of course, it depends on how much I can paint in a month. I would paint and paint and paint and paint. And at least I will survive with painting, you know. But I chose something that I know it was not going to sell. I chose performance, I chose intervention, I chose provocation.
Right.
And who is going to buy my provocation? The same people I'm confronting, how are they going to pay me for? How on earth is Ghana government going to pay me for me to promote LGBTQ conversations? You know? Yeah. And I chose it. So I chose it. So this is why I say I'm a job. So I chose it just as a life. And I chose it, yeah, whatever happens, I don't care. And I never dreamt that I was going to perform in any international space and they would tell me that take this salary for your performance.
As the founder of perfocraZe International Artists Residency and as an activist and as a performing artist herself, crazinisT artist has to make choices about how to work, what and when to consume, when to work, and which work to take.
It's not easy to get a grant for Ghana. Yeah. From Ghana. It's so complicated to come from this part of the world and be getting financial, like working for institutions. I'm just tired of it. Yeah. And so I wouldn't want artists to do this. I want whatever artists do should be appreciated by the institution, but not working for the institution.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, institutions should be chasing after artists. Not artists chasing after institution and then institution take advantage of artists. Because I also know my agency, I don't spend money. No, I don't remember last time I even bought something for myself. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think recently my partner went to town and bought me this nice brazier. But I don't remember last time but I bought brazier for my niece. You know, I went to town, I took my niece to town, I made a whole budget, I bought them braziers, panties and everything. But I don't remember last time I bought it for myself. So I have to make choices to survive. And those choices is to be hard on yourself. Mm. And deny yourself a lot of pleasure. Yeah, you have to deny yourself a lot of pleasure. This is also again why I said I'm just a work. Because I feel like I'm no longer a human being somehow. For many years now. Yeah, I've denied myself so many things. So many things. So
how are you taking care of yourself?
Yeah. I watch horror movies. That's the simple answer I can give. Now, even today, I was processing a lot of things like, am I really mentally sound? And if I am, what makes me think I'm mentally sound? And if it truly I am, how have I achieved that? So when it comes to the working body and to survive, and especially as artists, I really empathize with all artists across the globe. I really do. Of course, I'm living it as a choice. I'm living it as a decision, as a revolution, as a protest. But I wouldn't want people to live it. I wouldn't want people to go through it this way. I wish that artists would have all they want and still have their life and still live and still enjoy. They don't need to burn their bodies as fuel to survive.
You just heard from Va-Bene Elikem Fiatsi, also known as crazinisT artist, performance artist, and activist, whom I had the pleasure of interviewing in March 2021 at perfocraZe International Artists Residency in Kumasi, Ghana. pIAR has brought artists from all over the world. To find out more about how you can apply and more about crazinisT artist's work, you can visit her at www.crazinistartist.com, www.crazinistartist.com. You've been listening to Sweat, Sex, Work, Extraction, Art, Theatrics, a podcast about performance and performativity of the sexual and sexualized body at work. Sweat was produced by myself, Mad Kate. The theme music was composed by me and features the voice of performer and actress Lori Baldwin. The completion of this project was supported by the German publishing rights organization, GEMA. If you liked this podcast, please leave us a positive review wherever you listen and mention it to your friends. Thanks so much. Until next time.